What's the deal with taking communion when you're keto? Hi, in case you're new to this channel, I'm Slick Nick, your personal keto bro. And no, I'm not a doctor, a dietitian, a nutritionist, a personal coach. No, I'm just some random guy in Tennessee with a camera and 10,000 subscribers. And my goal here is to prove either way whether keto will work for an average normal human being who has no agenda. A lot of times when it comes to keto, it's people arguing that it doesn't work, and they'll have all these boogeyman excuses why it's bad. But ultimately, it's probably because they have some reason they don't want it to work. A lot of trainers specifically don't want it to work. They've been trained mentally, this whole thing about counting calories and upping your protein intake. Well, keto turns that upside down in the same way that it turns the food pyramid upside down. So for those of us who are keto, we know that we're not so concerned about counting calories. What we're concerned with is keeping our insulin levels down. We're hacking the system. We're making it to where we're forcing our body to run off of its own body fat, as well as the fat we consume when we do break our fast. And we're allowing our brain and our body to use that fat as fuel, because about 20% of the calories you consume anyway are going to your brain. So it only makes sense. Fat is a better fuel source than carbohydrates, because carbohydrates spike your insulin. Fat does not. So with that being said, let's talk about communion. It's funny, I mentioned before, being part of keto is like a cult more than anything. It's not a diet, it's a cult. You know, look at the video right here. I go through the 5 pillars of it: filling up on fat and fiber, fasting, drinking at least a gallon of water a day, walking 2 or 3 miles a day, and getting at least 7 hours of sleep. If you want to learn the basics of keto, just look at that video. I invented those 5 pillars there to make it easy for everyone to understand. But communion, when you start Googling keto and you start getting involved as I am, you realize you're not the first person to ask that question and to think about it. And I will say, since going full keto and getting to where I'm only consuming between 25 and 50 grams of carbohydrates a day, once so far have we had communion. I'm not Catholic where you have it, every day. It's more like once a month at our church. And so granted, it's this tiny little cracker, like the size of my fingernail. And then the juice is like about the content of my thumb. I mean, it's not much at all. It's hardly any calories, and it's hardly going to spike my insulin at all. And what's funny is my church service starts at 11, so by the time we did this, it was closer to noon. But the whole time I'm holding this in my hand, and I'm thinking, but I really don't want my insulin to spike until 2 o'clock. That's like 2 more hours. So granted, it's one of those situations, I gotta quote, take one for the team. I mean, again, it's such a small amount, but it is funny. It's something you just kind of have to laugh about. For those of us who are Christian and keto, we have to technically break our fast a little bit for communion. But again, I used to go to like an 8 o'clock church service, and now it just so happens we go to a later one. So if nothing else, there's that on my conscience. It's not so bad because, again, I'm not typically eating or officially breaking my fast in terms of keto until 2 p.m. So that is something I just have to be okay with. Just like I'm experimenting with possibly adding in ginger juice to my apple cider vinegar in the morning. That will definitely, in theory, because it will have some more carbs than I'm used to, break the fast. But and I'm talking bro science here, if scientifically though it does more to burn the fat than it does to spike my insulin, then that's what I need to really focus on as big picture. But in reality, something as technical as taking communion, especially when you go to a church like me, where it's just a tiny little shred thing of a cracker. I mean, it's basically my thumbnail. Like literally, that's how small the bread is. And I'm pretty sure it's gluten-free anyway. It tastes gluten-free. And then the juice is probably, for all I know, high fructose corn syrup in there. Something I know. But, I guess we can pray that God will miraculously change the physics behind all of that for the sake of us being keto. We could try that out. If you have any comments, you can put them right here.